So, Philip, welcome and thank you for joining me. Philip Schultz from Kontron AG. Delighted to have you join, spend some time with us today. So, Philip, maybe I'll kick it off and ask a question.
Sure.
Kontron have been involved in the deployment of edge solutions in multiple markets, smart cities, factories, defense markets. Maybe I'd ask you, if you think about those who are trying to deploy edge AI, what do you see as the impediments that are maybe preventing edge AI pilots to get into full deployment?
Yeah. So most of all, we see a lot of trouble when legacy installations need to be updated. So this is one of the key challenges that we see currently, because the infrastructure is mostly not adequate to what edge AI really needs, right? So we're trying to help our customers with providing their better solutions that are completely integrated. Most of all, they also need to implement CRA nowadays, right? Especially in Europe, you won't sell anything if you're not CRA compliant. So with all those challenges, our customers see us as a partner for giving them a good solution that spans from the silicon up to the application.
And so that's really interesting. And so if a customer came to you today and said, Philip, I want to deploy an edge AI solution, how will I convince my board that the decision I make today will pay dividends in the future? How do I ensure it won't be obsolete 3 years from now?
I think that's becoming easier and easier, because we have multiple use cases that we can provide, and multiple industries that have already started very early to use it, especially quality control. Right? Automotive was very much ahead of the time with visual inspection. But there it starts, right? With the connectivity that is missing in most of the legacy factories, it's a bottleneck, right? So you really need to think about edge AI as a complete solution, and not just an add-on, right, that you put on later, right? And that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and one of the underpinnings, from our perspective, has been the work we've done together that maximizes the utility of the infrastructure at the silicon level. The work we do in the product to ensure continuity of capability. You mentioned CRA,
Yeah.
the ability to upgrade and update in the future, security as a fundamental component that we build into the underlying silicon.
Yeah.
But maybe extending on that theme of ensuring success in the future, if you consider deployments from an operational infrastructure perspective, so maybe what are some of the insights you've learned to see that have prevented people that they might not have thought about when they were planning to scale?
Yeah. So first, if you build an isolated pilot and not taking the infrastructure that you have in your facility in consideration, then you will obviously be stuck in the deployment, right? So mostly we see the bandwidth as a problem. There's a good solution that is up and coming. We're heavily invested in 5G private networks that enable camera bandwidth to be adequate for edge AI to be out there. With partnering with you and others, we have the capability to compute out there where it's needed as well. But still, you need the bandwidth to transfer the results. And with old Wi-Fi structure, for example, people are at the end of their
Constraint.
of their safety, security, and also bandwidth, right? Reliability. Changing over from one building to the other sounds easy with a handshake, but it isn't, right? So 5G solves a lot of those problems that enables AI in our mind. So that is something that needs to be thought together before you deploy.
Yeah, I agree. And as we think about, you mentioned reliability and security and the ability to certify for safety, all of these are the assets we've considered as well as we think about how do we ensure there's a sustained roadmap as an underpinning, as a foundation to make that true. What I'm curious as to your view on maybe some markets that have real propensity for edge AI that maybe others don't think about as naturally. Do you have any examples of markets you're seeing would say, hey, there's a real propensity for growth here and might be a little bit underrepresented or under considered?
So we see that one of the biggest changes in industries or transformations in the railway business, right? For railway, because there is a new standard coming. Railway communication, the security communication between trains and the dispatcher is running on GSMR, which is a standard that was in the 90s, right? So we're still on that standard. FRMCS, the new standard, 5G is coming there, and that enables a lot of infrastructure around just the communication between the train and the dispatcher.
Right.
All the sensors, all the signaling, all the the preventive maintenance stuff, that is now enabled, right? And will be connected. And with the connection, also the AI component will come in, right? So because then you can perform all those analysis directly where it happens, and that's just starting, right? So it's the standard comes out, but this will be transformative for the next 20 years. So this is an industry that is slow normally,
Yes.
but it has a huge impact,
Right.
The second one is defense. Obviously, there is a lot of digitalization currently happening. Everybody wants to have multiple intelligence streams at once, all combined, all in real time, all secured. And that is a real challenge for the current infrastructure.
Yes.
The people are not prepared yet. So that's why also there is a lot of defense spending that goes into that standardization, digitalization, and AI at the edge without connectivity as well, right? Imagine if you're in a battlefield, you don't have a 5G network handy normally, right? We're working on that too, but it's harder, right? So that needs to work independently as well.
So maybe I'll finalize or I'll finish up with a question. If you think about customers that you meet today, and we talked a little bit about some of the things they might omit or forget about, well, what would be the advice you'd say to somebody who is embarking on an edge AI deployment today, and say, what should they think about upfront and where actually contract will really help?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to think of it as a complete system. You need to think security first, right? Before you start implementing security, because you can't do security afterwards. CRA needs to be thought before. We can help with that. You need to have the connectivity in place, and you have to have the models in place that you want to use. We at Kontron, we can give you support with all those, and we're relying on Intel and other partners in order to give the customer access to your experience and your libraries in order to deploy faster. And that's ultimately the speed is key in all those deployments, right? Because if your competitors are having it and are increasing the quality output by tens of percent, then you will be second, right? So it's really a matter of speed.
Yeah, I agree. The time to market, time to solution,
Absolutely.
time to impact. And so the work we do together as we consider the continued evolution of our roadmap, you mentioned many of the parameters, the ability to support applications natively today that are legacy applications, so you can't dispense with them. Then increase VLAs and a path towards AI integration. And what we think about as we've evolved our Core Ultra Series 3 product line, it's very much about high levels of integration to support the different kinds of workloads, particularly those that are including supporting AI at the edge, all in a roadmap or product that creates that compute foundation on which these solutions can then get built.
And that's the smart thing that we are currently seeing is our customers are asking for AI, but don't even know what it is right now and what their solution will be.
Right.
But with, for example, a Panther Lake deployment, we are already prepared. So, okay, you can put an infrastructure in, you can develop once you're there, and once you have the infrastructure out there, you can start building your models, and you can use the existing infrastructure and the existing hardware without having to upgrade. And that's I think the way to go forward. Have the capabilities already in place, even if you don't need them today, because you will need them later.
It's been a pleasure. Appreciate all
Thank
the
you very
insights and the
much.
learnings, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.